Integrity. To do what's right when no one's watching. That seems to be the most common definition I hear. Sounds good, but the least amount, that's never the intent when I hear that term. Usually it's used as a form of manipulation to try and get someone to do what is considered the right thing. And the right thing is the problem. And I don't mean it's a problem doing the right thing. I mean the term the right thing is the problem. See, the right thing for you is not necessarily the right thing for me. And the right thing can be a very elusive term. Now, one would say quickly, like, oh, well, we're talking about laws. But even between states, we have differing opinions about those laws. Typically, I hear this term used in business world as part of mission statements and core values and all these things, and that's where I think it's lost some of its meaning and pretty much the problem. It's a loaded term, and I'm coming to find there's a lot of things that are loaded terms. And what I mean by that is a loaded term means I'm implying that you understand what I'm talking about when I use this term. That's a loaded term. So a good example would be, do you believe in God? That is a loaded question, although it's not necessarily intended to be loaded. But what ends up happening is the person who asked the question holds a frame of reference in their mind, and they're not asking, does that person believe in their interpretation of God? They're asking, do you believe in my definition of God that's in my mind right now? And that can get, it's easy to see where we can have differences of opinions. Well, integrity is one of these words that's often used in this light. So, now, yeah, it's that these people need to, or this company will work itself, handle itself in a manner that's integrity. This sun is bright, sorry. So, to do the right thing when no one's watching. Now, okay, so it's not just definitions, though. There's an interesting, I ended up thinking about this word way more than I should have, probably because I felt people were using it manipulatively, and that really irritates me. But I don't, well, first let's talk about the manipulation. Is we all manipulate, whether we realize it or not, and I've spoke about this at length before. But we don't, the crazy part is we don't necessarily realize we're manipulating whenever we manipulate. We just know a pattern of events and things to say that get us what we eventually want. And that is, in essence, manipulation. So when someone uses this term, not necessarily saying it's a, they got ill intent with using this term. It may just be the pattern that's gotten them, and it's, they take the term for face value. They're not going to do deep dive like I've done. That was kind of a sidetrack, but the deep dive part made me realize this. Okay, so if we look at integrity from the standpoint of warring nations, okay, and let's say warring nations over two ideals. All right, I won't give examples. You can fill in your own examples because that seems to be touchy areas right now. But if both sides are fulfilling, like soldiers are fulfilling their duty to the conviction of their heads of state, all right, both sides have no less integrity than the other because they are both doing what they consider the right thing. However, the reason we're having a war is because the two nations disagree about what the right thing is. And that's where kind of my rub comes in with the word integrity. We never set terms before we start using this. Like, I feel like I have pretty good integrity about my core belief system. That does not mean that automatically transposes over to a company that I work for. Now, it's a good sentiment, right? So you can't sit there and say like, "Oh no, I'm not going to have integrity." Like I think we all do. Like, we're all true to our particular set of codes, and that's a further complexity of the word. The right thing. Was that legal definition? By the law, the right thing? Or like by my personal code, the right thing? Like, I did the right thing to get me what I want, even though it was 100% illegal. That's still integrity, right? I mean, I did the right thing by me when no one was looking. Turns out there was a camera, and that's why I got caught. I don't know. It's the word is very loaded. Because we don't. Now, typically, I think the word integrity would be useful in a common society. So, like businesses, when a large majority of the society agrees, that creates our moral basis. And then, as a group, they have that moral basis, and then that would be our integrity. Our integrity would be adherence to that moral basis. But the further we get fragmented, the further our moral basis separates, and the more disagreements that occur, which allows for the large variation from what some would call integrity to situations. Now, that can be construed as awfully negative, but that is not my point. That is my point. That is not my goal. My goal is to get people to start thinking more about the way we communicate, particularly from, just in general, the way we communicate. See, we come into these conversations completely preloaded, and then we pretend like, I will listen to what you say, as if we're not going to judge them based on our opinion of their definition, which is almost impossible. It's like, it's not that it's not true. Like, I have my, like, I got to get in a really special space to listen to you give me an explanation that's contrary to mine, and for me to weigh my opinion against that and potentially change my mind. I'm reminded of a quote. It's something I wrote a long time ago, and it was basically, in order, let me see if I can remember it. It's been quite a few years since I authored it. Right? It was talking about convictions to one's beliefs and what we held true. And it's like talking about conversations and disagreements with people. It's like, I can't hold someone accountable to whether or not they felt they believe their belief system until I can fully represent their belief system. I'm butchering what I quoted. It's basically, the gist of it is, you can't judge someone for their integrity to their belief without having a full understanding of their belief. And to have that full understanding of the belief, I must be able to put my belief against their belief and take the result of that questioning, come what may. And there's incredibly few people willing to do this, because kind of comes with another thing I've realized as I've gotten older. We keep markers in our mind of wins. Okay, so we have these patterns that we follow, which those patterns are incredibly easily to predetermine or to figure out for a particular human, but no one wants to admit that. But we we learn these things, and we learn what things get us those things, and then we keep a tally score, statistically speaking, of a successful person that's moved into management. They have a mode of operating that has gotten them from when they started to where they are at that point. Okay, and this is why you see large companies fail. People go sideways, and they're like, "How could you be so wrong when you were so right all along?" And it's that mode of thinking. See, in their mind, all of our minds, when we've operated at a certain way for so long, the statistics tell us that we're successful 80 to 90% of the time, right? So that one outlier, we're automatically going to throw out. And that's how we get caught off guard with that. That's how we can be so wrong. Just because you go prove a 40-year veteran senior manager that they're wrong one time does not mean they're going to change the way they do stuff, because they have a track record of showing consistency with their mode of operation over time is a successful output. And that's what you're going against with these notions, trying to get someone to change their mind. So the better thing is being aware of the way we use the word, and then defining what we consider integrity. So I would define the terms. Like if I'm going to use a word, I would try to define that out, especially if I'm in a management or leading other people position. I want to be very clear and not assume that people understand exactly what I'm saying. So let me finish. You should have integrity, okay? And hopefully that integrity aligns with what's morally considered mostly moral, considered moral by the most of the country, and is in line with the laws. All right. Thank you.